Hello everyone, if you want to see how I made this princess dart bustier for a straight blouse, keep watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad to have you here. So for today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to cut a princess dart bustier. That's for a fitted blouse. If you've been following my channel, you will notice that I use this material to cut a 6-piece skirt. So if you are yet to watch it, you can go and watch it after watching this. Then from the fabric, I now have to cut out this material. When cutting your fabric, there are some sides that will not be equal. So but this will actually serve for the purpose I want to use it for. It's just a princess dart bustier. That's for a fitted blouse. So do not mind the unequal edge. It's going to unequal edge of the fabric. It's going to serve for what I'm going to use it for. So that's that. So, and if you're yet to subscribe, please click on the subscribe button and also hit on the notification bell for you to be notified each time I make a new upload. So let's move over to the tutorial. As you can see, I've drawn my horizontal line, but I'll go ahead and explain. This is my borderline. That's my starting point. So from my shoulder to my bust point, it's 9.5, which is this 9.5. Then from my shoulder to my under bust is 13.5. Then from my shoulder to my waist it's 17. Then from my shoulder to my hip, that's where the length of the blouse will stop, is 25 inch. So what I have basically is this my bust line, my under bust line, waistline, and my hip line. So that's that. So what I'm going to do is to take my shoulder slope. Of course, if you're following my other videos, you know how I normally take my shoulder slope. I'll mark 3 inches, which is standard. Then the shoulder I'm using is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. But since I'm marking directly on my fabric, I'm going to add 0.5 inch for as in seam allowance. That's to enable me join the shoulder with the sleeve, so which will give me a total of 8. So where I mark this 8, I'm going to come down by 1 to get my shoulder slope, and then connect it to where I mark the 3 inch. Then the next is to take the neckline I'll be using for this is I'm going to use a neckline. The depth, I'm going to use a depth of 5.5, and then the wideness, I'll be using a wideness of 4.5. So the next is I'm going to get my upper bust. So for my upper bust, I use this formula: your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So the bust I'm using is 36. 36 divided by 6, it's 6. Then 6 plus 1.5, it's 7.5. 7.5. I just want to have a straight line. So this is 7.5. But if I should take it to this straight line, it's going to give me 8.5. So I'll just come here and mark 8.5 just to enable me, have a straight line. Then I'll just come down here. That's from shoulder slope. I'll come down. From here to here it's 8. So I can still take note of the 8. Then the next is to take for the armhole, I'm going to take the midpoint of this, which is 7.5, and half of 7.5 is 3.75. 3.75. I'm going to come in by 0.75, which is 3/4. So to where I'll connect to this, I'm going to take my bust measurement. My bust is 36. 36 divided by 4. It's 9. But then I love to add 0.25 for ease allowance, which is here. So I'll connect. So the next thing I'm going to do is, for my bust span, it's 7.5. 7.5 divided by 2, it's 3.75. 3.75. But since I'm marking directly on my fabric, I'm going to add 0.5 inch seam allowance. That's when I eventually join the center front of the blouse to the side front. I'm going to use 0.5 inch to join it. So I will arrive at exactly at my bust span, which is 3.75. So so let me come again. My bust span is 7.5. 7.5 divided by 2 is 3.75. This is 3.75. But I'm going to add 0.5 inch seam allowance so that when I eventually join them together, I'll arrive at that exact 3.775. So what I will mark now is 3.75 plus 0.5, which is 4.25. 4.25. So that's what I'll also come down here and mark it. 4.25. Then I'll use my ruler to connect it. So after that, what I'll now do is, on my bust line, I'm going to come down by 1. Then here on my under bust, I'm going to mark 1 inch on both sides. Depending on how busted the person is, you can decide to use 2.5 or 3, depending on how busted the person is. I marked 1 inch on both sides, and I'm also going to mark 1 inch on both sides here too. Then on my hip line, I'm going to come up by 2. So after that, I'll connect the dots. Then I'll connect this to where I came up by 2. Please, if you have any question, let me know in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer your question. So the next thing is, I'll come back to the armholes and I'll take the midpoint of the armhole. It's either you take the midpoint or you just take 4. It all depends on where you want the curve to start from. It could be here, here, or here. So, but for me, I'll just take note of the midpoint. So this 8.5. 8.5 divided by 2 is 4.25. 4.25. So this is 4.25. So I'm going to add 0.5 inch, which will now make it 4.75. This is because, you know, I'm going to cut it off. So when I'll use 0.5 inch to join this panel to the other one. So that's that. So I'm going to mark 4.75. And then I'll come up by, you can come up by 1 or half. So I'll come up by half. So I use the ruler to connect it. Where I came up by by half. So the next I'm going to take 0.5 from both sides. And then I also connect it where I came up by half. Take note that this is where the, as in this armhole, it stopped here. So but I, you know, extended it because I'm still going to come up by, you know, we are going to cut off 0.5 on both sides, which is a total of 1.5. So I'm going to add it back to this one so that we'll not have a shortage after cutting and then we are joining it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come up by 1.5, which is here. So ignore this one. So this is 1.5. 1.5. So I'm going to get the new armhole. So the next is to take my measurements. The box I'm using is 36. 36 divided by 4, it's 9. Remember I added 0.25 for ease allowance, which is 9.25, which is where I connected for the armhole. So the next, I'm going to add, you know, we are going to cut off this. We are going to cut off this. That's, which is a total of 1.25. That's 0.5 plus 0.5. It's 1.25. So I'm going to add it to that 9.25, which is going to give me 10.75. 10.75. 10.75, which is here. Then I'll add 2 inch for seam allowance. So that's that. So I'll come over to the waist. The waist I'm using it's 31. 31 divided by 4, it's going to give me 7.75. So 7.75, this 7.75. Remember that this one is going to be cut off. That's the 1 inch I took from both sides. So I'm going to add it back. 7.75 plus 2 inch is going to give me 9.75. 9.75, which is here. 9.75. Then I'll go ahead and add 2 inch for seam allowance. This 2 inch for seam allowance will be enough for me to add both the front panel to the back panel, and also for the two sides. So that's it. Then for the hip I'm using is 40 divided by 4, it's 10. It's 10. You know, I'm not adding anything because we didn't actually cut off from here. We didn't cut anything out from here. So that's that. So 10 plus 2 inch for seam allowance here. So I'll go ahead and connect. So that's that. But when cutting here, you know, just try and curve a little so that you don't have a sharp edge. Just curve a little, just a little. So that's that. I'll go ahead and cut. But before I cut, for the shoulder, let me add the seam allowance for the shoulder. So I'm going to add ½ inch here, ½ inch here. That's to join the front panel with the back panel. And then, least I forgot, try as much as possible to shaping out all this sharp edge, Now, our body is not actually that straight. Because if it has a sharp edge, it won't come out fine. Take note, if it has a sharp edge, it won't come out fine. So that is that. So you see, so here, you know, it will be inside, and here will be, you know, like this. Here, like this. You see it. So that's that. Let's go and cut the back panel. So for the back panel, this line you see me, I marked here, it's for the zip allowance. That's the zip allowance. Then here is the, you know, starting point. Here is the waist, and here is the length of the blouse. Remember I told you when cutting the front panel that from my shoulder to my waist it's 17. Then from my shoulder to where the blouse will be stopping it's 25. So that's that. And like I said earlier, this for the zip allowance. So any measurement I'm going to be taking, I'll be starting from this point. I'll be starting from this point. I won't start here because this is the zip allowance. I'll be starting from this point. So that's that. So let me go ahead and take my measurement, my shoulder slope. Remember I said I'm going to mark 3-inch standard. Then the neck I'm using is 15. 15 divided by 2, it's 7.5. 7.5 plus 0.5 inch for seam allowance. That's what I'll use to join the sleeve. It's 8. So you see it's 8. And I also come down by 1, then connect it to where I marked the 3. Then for my upper bust, it's, you know, I said it's 36 divided by 6 plus 1.5 is 7.5. And I'm starting from the shoulder slope, 1.5 and 7.5. If I come up, it will be 8.5. So let me mark 8.5. Then I want to come down straight. That's for the armhole. 8. For the back armhole, 7.5, I'll take note of the midpoint, which is 3.75. Then my bust, 36 divided by 4, it's 9. 9.0.25 for ease allowance, 9.25. For the neck, for the wideness, I'm going to use something I used at the front, which is 4.5. Take note that I'm starting the measurement from this line now, 4.5, which is here. And then for the depth, well, the depth, what should I use? Okay, I'll still go ahead and use same, 4.5. And then I'll connect. So that's that. Then for the bust span, my bust span is 7.5. So 7.5 divided by 2, it's 3.75 plus 0.5 seam allowance, it's 4.25. 4.25. I'm also going to mark it here, 4.25. And then here I'm going to come down by 1. I'm going to come down by 1. And also on the hip I'm going to come up by 2. I'm going to come up by 2. So here I'm going to take, you can actually take 0.5 or 0.75. Anyone it's okay, but for this tutorial I'm going to take 0.75 on both sides. 0.75 on both sides. So I took 0.75 on both sides. Note that this is not actually constant. You can decide to take 0.5 or 0.75. So that's that. So I'll go ahead and connect. Then for the curve, I'm going to take the midpoint of this. What I have here is 8, so the midpoint is 4, and I'll add 0.5. Since I'm going to add this panel to this panel, so it will arrive at 4. So I'm marking 4.5. So I'll just go ahead and connect it. You know, here it does not have to be a sharp edge. Sorry, here it does not have to be a curved edge. So that's that. You can actually use your ruler to, draw a straight line, then you just curve it out a little bit. Or you can use this to just do it at once. So you see. So for the measurement, the bust I'm using is 36. 36 divided by 4, it's 9, plus 0.25 is allowance, which I added, which is a total of 9.25, which is what I marked here. So plus 2-inch seam allowance, you see it. So I come over to the waist. Take note that if you are taking your final measurements, you start from here. You start from here. So that's it. You see the 9.25, then 2-inch seam allowance. So for the waist I'm using is 31. 31 divided by 4, it's 7.75. 7.75, which is here. 7.75. Then 7.75 plus this 1.5 that will be cut off. That's these two, a total of 1.5 that will be cut off. So I'm going to add it here, which will now give me a total of 9.25. 9.25, which is here, plus 2-inch seam allowance. Then for the hip I'm using is 40. 40 divided by 4, it's 10. You know, we're not cutting off anything here, so I'll just mark the 10 like that. Plus 2-inch seam allowance. So that is that. Then before I now start cutting, I would like to, sometimes when we fix our zip, at the back it might not look perfect. It will be somehow, how will I even put it, bulb or something like that. So what I normally do is, I'll come here, I'll come 1 inch below the, I can actually start from my from the neckline or I'll just come 1 inch below the upper bust, which is here. Which is here. 1 inch below the upper bust. Take note that I can start here, or I can start here, depending on the fabric you are using. So I'll mark here. So what I will do is I'm going to mark half inch. I just mark half inch. So I'm going to cut it out. It's going to give the clothes more fit, and then when you fix your zip, it won't bulge at the back. You know, you won't have excess fabric coming out along the zip area. So you see, take note that when I'm sewing for the zip allowance, I will still take my 2 inch. I will still take my 2 inch for the zip. So that's that. Then before I cut, I will add the half inch to join the both shoulders. So this is the back panel. You can see there's the back panel. When you join it, it's going to be like. I hope you learned something from this tutorial. If you do not forget to give me a thumbs up, like, and share with your friends. So today I come your way next time with another interesting tutorial. Do have a lovely day. Bye bye.